Midnight raid. Corrupt cops smash through the door at 2 a.m. Pregnant Emily's scream echoes as a bullet drops her cold. Hidden hero. Alex activates his carbon veil. Live broadcast ignites. Will this viral revenge topple a corporate empire? Justice's brutal fight begins now. So before we begin, hit subscribe to Black Battles, where every story hits harder than truth itself. In the quiet suburbs of Willow Creek, a small town nestled on the outskirts of Seattle, where the evergreen forests whispered secrets to the relentless Pacific rain, Dr. Alexander Alex Harper lived a life of quiet determination. At 38, Alex was a man whose days were filled with the hum of innovation, rather than the clamor of crowds. His home, a modest, eco-friendly bungalow with solar panels glinting like hopeful stars against the gray skies, stood as a testament to his passion. Built from reclaimed wood and powered by the wind that swept in from the sound, it was more than a house. It was a sanctuary for dreams. Alex, with his warm brown eyes and a smile that could coax sunlight from the clouds, spent his evenings tinkering in the garage-turned-lab, where prototypes of his life's work cluttered every surface. His wife, Emily Harper, was the heartbeat of their world. At 35, she was a community organizer, whose laughter echoed like wind chimes through their neighborhood. With her auburn hair often tied back in a loose braid, and her green eyes sparkling with unyielding optimism, Emily had a way of turning strangers into allies. She led local cleanup drives along the polluted shores of Puget Sound, rallying families to pick up plastic waste that threatened the salmon run sacred to the indigenous communities nearby. Pregnant with their first child, a little girl they had already named Lily after the wildflowers that bloomed defiantly in the wetlands, Emily's belly swelled gently under her favorite oversized sweater, a soft knit that Alex had bought her during a rare weekend getaway to the Olympic Peninsula. "This is our legacy," she would say, placing Alex's hand on her bump as they sat on their porch swing, watching the rain patter against the leaves. Not just for us, but for her, for a world worth inheriting. Alex's invention, the carbon veil, was no ordinary gadget. It was a sleek, wall-mounted device no larger than a smoke detector, designed to capture airborne pollutants and convert them into harmless water vapor. Inspired by years of fieldwork in the Amazon and his own childhood memories of hazy summer days in California's Central Valley, where wildfires choked the air, Alex had poured his soul into it. The veil wasn't just technology, it was redemption. As a former intelligence analyst for the Environmental Protection Agency, Alex had seen the underbelly of corporate greed, oil giants lobbying against regulations, rivers poisoned for profit. Now, retired to focus on family, he dreamed of open-sourcing the veil, letting communities like Willow Creek shield themselves from the encroaching climate crisis. Emily was his biggest cheerleader, proofreading grant proposals late into the night, her feet propped up on an ottoman as Lily kicked in approval. But shadows loomed beyond their idyllic bubble. PetroGlobal, a multinational energy conglomerate headquartered in Houston, had caught wind of Alex's breakthrough through a leaked patent abstract. Their executives, in boardrooms lined with mahogany and fueled by ambition, viewed the veil not as salvation, but as a threat to their carbon-heavy empire. "Neutralize the source," one VP had murmured during a late-night conference call, his voice as cold as the steel pipeline snaking across the Midwest. Bribes flowed like oil, subtle at first to local officials, then bolder to those in uniform who patrolled the streets of forgotten towns. It was a Tuesday evening in late autumn when the first cracks appeared. Alex returned home from a supply run to the local hardware store, his truck bed loaded with circuit boards and wiring. The rain had eased into a misty drizzle, and the streetlights cast golden halos on the wet pavement. Emily greeted him at the door with a steaming mug of chamomile tea, her cheeks flushed from an afternoon planning session with the neighborhood eco club. "The girls loved the prototype demo," she said, pulling him into a hug that lingered just a moment too long, as if sensing the weight he carried. They shared a quiet dinner, grilled salmon from a sustainable fishery and greens from their backyard plot, talking about baby names and the upcoming town hall on coastal erosion. Lily fluttered between them, a secret Morse code of excitement. As night deepened, the clock struck 2 in the morning. Emily stirred first, her hand instinctively cradling her belly. A distant rumble, not thunder but something mechanical, echoed through the walls. Alex bolted upright, heart pounding, his analyst instincts flaring. "Stay here," he whispered, slipping into jeans and a hoodie, grabbing his phone from the nightstand. The bungalow's security app, a basic setup tied to the veil's sensors, blinked innocently on his screen. No alerts. But outside, headlights pierced the darkness like accusatory fingers. 3 squad cars idled at the curb, their engines growling low. Officers emerged, shadows in tactical vests, hands hovering near holsters. Leading them was Sergeant Harlan Crow, a grizzled veteran with a jaw set like granite, and eyes hardened by years of just following orders. Flanking him were Officers Tate and Riley, younger men whose badges gleamed too brightly under the sodium lamps, betraying their unease. "Police! Open up!" Harlan's voice boomed, amplified by a bullhorn that shattered the night's fragile peace. A battering ram thudded against the door, splintering the eco-wood frame in one brutal swing. Emily gasped from the bedroom, clutching the quilt as contractions of fear rippled through her. Alex raised his hands, stepping into the fray with measured calm, his mind racing through protocols long dormant. "We're unarmed, please, my wife's pregnant," he called out, voice steady but laced with the tremor of dread. The officers surged in, flashlights sweeping like searchlights over family photos and half-finished baby blankets. Tate grabbed Alex's arm, twisting it behind his back with practiced efficiency. "On your knees, suspect," he barked, mistaking the cluttered lab for a den of illicit chemicals. In the chaos, Emily stumbled from the bedroom, her nightgown askew, one hand on the wall for support. "What's happening, Alex?" Her cry was a plea, raw and maternal. Harlan's flashlight caught her silhouette, the swell of her pregnancy unmistakable. But in the haze of adrenaline and whispered corporate directives, "Secure the device at all costs," Riley's finger tightened on the trigger. A single shot rang out, deafening in the confined space. Emily crumpled, a crimson bloom staining the hardwood floor she had so lovingly refinished. Time fractured. Alex's world narrowed to the metallic tang of blood, and the guttural roar escaping his throat. Not rage, but a father's primal vow. As the officers froze, radios crackling with confusion, Alex's eyes locked on the veil mounted innocently above the mantel. Its tiny green light pulsed steadily, recording every heartbeat of injustice. In that suspended moment, between the rain's soft patter and the wail of approaching sirens, Alex Harper transformed. The quiet inventor became a guardian, his resolve hardening like the ancient cedars outside. Justice, he knew, would not come quietly. It would rise from the ashes of this night, fierce and unyielding, for Emily, for Lily, for the fragile earth they all shared. The acrid scent of gunpowder hung heavy in the air, mingling with the faint, earthy aroma of the rain-soaked garden outside. Alex Harper's knees hit the floor not from the force of Officer Tate's grip, but from the shattering weight of Emily's cry, a sound that pierced deeper than any bullet. She lay there, her hand still outstretched toward him, blood pooling beneath her like spilt ink on their shared dreams. The officers stood frozen in the dim glow of the overturned lamp, their faces a mosaic of shock and dawning regret. Sergeant Harlan Crow's bullhorn lay discarded, its static hiss the only sound breaking the stunned silence. "What have you done?" Alex's voice emerged low, not a shout but a rumble from the depths of a man who had once stared down hurricanes in the field. In that heartbeat, the world slowed. Alex's mind, honed by years of high-stakes analysis at the EPA, flashed through scenarios like pages in a briefing dossier. Emily's labored breaths were the ticking clock. Lily's tiny form, still safe within her, the stakes he could not afford to lose. He twisted against Tate's hold with a precision born of forgotten training, NSA simulations where evasion meant survival. A swift elbow to the solar plexus sent Tate gasping to his knees, the handcuffs clattering free. Riley fumbled for his radio, but Alex was already moving, a shadow uncoiling. He swept Riley's legs from under him in a fluid takedown, the officer's vest thudding against the floorboards Emily had sanded smooth during lazy summer afternoons. Harlan lunged, his bulk a wall of authority, but Alex sidestepped, using the sergeant's momentum to pin him against the wall with a forearm bar that spoke of discipline, not destruction. "Stand down." Alex commanded, his tone the steady cadence of a leader briefing a team under fire. The officers, caught off guard by this unassuming inventor's transformation, hesitated. Tate wheezed, clutching his side. Riley's eyes darted to his fallen weapon, but Alex's foot rested lightly on it, a silent promise of restraint. Harlan's face twisted in fury, veins bulging like storm clouds. "You're under arrest for assaulting officers. This is resistance." But his words faltered as Alex's gaze flicked to the carbon veil, its unassuming lens winking green in the chaos. With a subtle tap on his wristwatch, linked to the device via a hidden Bluetooth protocol, the veil hummed to life. "Not just recording now, but broadcasting." A live feed surged through encrypted channels to the eco-network Alex had quietly cultivated. A coalition of activists, scientists and journalists from Seattle to San Francisco, all tethered to his prototype's secure hub. Back in the control room of Green Horizon, a non-profit watchdog group in downtown Seattle, monitors flickered to life. Lena Vasquez, a sharp-eyed investigative reporter with a scar from a pipeline protest etched on her cheek, leaned forward as the feed crackled onto her screen. "Holy, it's live from Willow Creek, Harper's place." Her team gathered, whispers turning to urgent calls. Across the country, in a dimly lit office at the Union of Concerned Scientists, Dr. Marcus Hale paused mid-sip of his midnight coffee, his tablet buzzing with the alert. The grainy footage showed it all. The battering ram's swing, Emily's terrified plea, the muzzle flash that felled her. And now Alex, hands raised in surrender even as he held the line, his voice clear over the stream. "This is Dr. Alexander Harper. My home is under an unlawful raid. My pregnant wife is shot. Viewers bear witness." The digital ripple spread like wildfire through parched underbrush. Tweets ignited under Eco-Raid Exposed, pinging from coastal watchdogs to inland allies. In Willow Creek's own community forum, neighbors who had shared Emily's cleanup barbecues refreshed their feeds in disbelief. "That's the Harper's house. Oh God, Emily." One posted, her fingers flying. Petroglobal's crisis team, monitoring social chatter from their Houston tower, watched the metrics spike in horror. "Pull the plug," a junior exec stammered into a secure line, but it was too late. The veil's design, resilient, mirrored the very ecosystems Alex fought to protect. Shutting it down would only amplify the outage as a smoking gun. Inside the bungalow, Alex knelt beside Emily, cradling her head with a gentleness that belied the storm in his eyes. Her eyelids fluttered, pain etching lines on her freckled face. "Alex, Lily." "She's kicking," she whispered, a brave attempt at levity through gritted teeth. He pressed a clean dish towel to her wound, his free hand stroking her hair. "Hold on, love. Help's coming. You're both fighters like your mom." Flashbacks flooded him. Their first date at a rainy market in Pike Place where she'd slipped him a wildflower lei. The night they learned of Lily, dancing barefoot in the kitchen to an old folk tune about resilient roots. These were the anchors now, pulling him from the abyss of vengeance. Sirens wailed in the distance, reinforcements drawn by the officer's frantic dispatch. Harlan struggled against the wall, spitting defiance. "You think this changes anything?" "You're done, Harper. That gadget of yours? Petro's lawyers will bury it." But Alex met his gaze unflinching. "Bury this first." He nodded toward the veil, its feed now pulling in viewer comments. Outrage from thousands, pledges of support pouring in like rain after drought. As paramedics burst through the shattered door, guided by the live coordinates Alex had embedded, they swarmed Emily, stabilizing her on a stretcher. "Pulse is weak but steady, let's move." The lead tech urged, wheeling her toward the ambulance under the strobe of red and blue lights. Alex followed, cuffed loosely now by a remorseful Tate, but his mind was already mapping the counter-move. In the rear view of the departing ambulance, he caught a glimpse of the veil's light, still pulsing, a beacon in the night. Petroglobal's shadows had lengthened, but so had the reach of truth. As the rain resumed its gentle cadence, washing the blood from the porch, Alex whispered a vow to the stars peeking through the clouds, for Emily's healing hands to cradle Lily, for the veil to veil no more injustices. But deeper in the forge of betrayal, a question burned. What price would the earth demand next? The sterile hum of fluorescent lights in Willow Creek General Hospital, felt like a mockery of the gentle rain that had once lulled Alex and Emily to sleep. Alex paced the waiting room's linoleum floor, his sneakers squeaking faintly with each turn, a rhythm that mirrored the frantic beat of his heart. The cuffs had been removed en route, replaced by a temporary bracelet marking him as a person of interest. But the real chains were invisible, fear coiling around his chest like the vines he and Emily had planted along their backyard trellis. It was nearing dawn now, the sky outside the floor-to-ceiling windows bleeding from ink black to bruised purple, as if the world itself mourned. A young nurse named Clara, with kind eyes shadowed by exhaustion, approached him holding a styrofoam cup of coffee that smelled more of regret than comfort. "Mr. Harper? Your wife's stable." The bullet grazed her side, clean through, no major organs hit. "Baby Lily's heartbeat is strong, but we're monitoring for stress." Alex sank into a vinyl chair, the words washing over him like a balm on scorched earth. Stable, strong. Yet the image of Emily's blood on their floor lingered, a stain no amount of scrubbing could erase. He nodded, throat tight, and accepted the coffee without sipping it. "Can I see her?" Clara led him down a corridor lined with pastel murals of forests and seas. Ironic touches meant to soothe, but they only stirred memories. Emily in the Amazon with him years ago, her laughter cutting through the humidity as they documented deforested plots. Emily at their wedding under a canopy of maples, vowing to grow old together, roots intertwined. The door to room 214 whispered open, and there she was, pale against the crisp sheets and IV dripping saline like tears, monitors beeping a tentative lullaby. Her auburn hair fanned across the pillow, and when she turned her head, those green eyes met his, dimmed but unbroken. "Alex," she breathed, reaching for his hand. He crossed the room in 2 strides, enveloping her fingers in his, careful of the bruises blooming on her wrist from the fall. "I'm so sorry. I should have—" She silenced him with a squeeze, wincing slightly. "You protected us. That's what matters." They sat like that, foreheads nearly touching, the room a fragile bubble against the storm brewing beyond. Lily kicked then, a flutter against Emily's gown, and Alex pressed his palm there, feeling the miracle pulse. "She's a warrior like her mom," he murmured, voice cracking. In that touch, grief and gratitude tangled, a fierce love forged in the fire of the night. But peace was fleeting. Alex's phone, silenced during the ride, now vibrated insistently in his pocket. He glanced at the screen. A dozen missed calls from Lena Vasquez, the reporter whose feed had captured the raid. Steeling himself, he stepped into the hall and answered. "Alex, it's everywhere. Your stream? It's hit 10 million views. TNN's looping it. Even the late-night shows are picking it up. Eco-Raid is trending nationwide." Her voice crackled with urgency, laced with the empathy of someone who had chased similar stories from tear gas clouds. "The department's issuing sunrise. Suspension for those officers pending investigation." "But Petro Global? Their stock dipped 2 points overnight." "They're lawyering up." Across the continent in Houston, Petro Global's executive suite buzzed like a disturbed hive. CEO Victor Lang paced the glass-walled boardroom, his reflection distorted in the cityscape below. A man whose empire spanned pipelines from Alaska to the Gulf, now cracking under public scrutiny. "How did this blow up?" he demanded, slamming a tablet onto the polished oak table. The screen froze on Alex's face midstream, resolute and raw. His chief of security, a former military contractor named Royce, cleared his throat. "The device, Harper's Veil. It's not just a filter. It's a damn broadcaster. Decentralized servers bounce through activist nodes. We can't trace or scrub it without looking guiltier." Victor's jaw tightened, memories of past cover-ups flashing, spills hushed with settlements, regulators bought with donations. This was different. A viral martyr, a pregnant wife in the crosshairs. "Find leverage," he growled. His past, dig into that EPA stint. Everyone has skeletons. Back at the hospital, Alex ended the call, leaning against the cool wall as notifications flooded in, messages from old colleagues. "Saw the feed, hang in there, brother?" Emails from grant funders. "We're doubling support for the Veil rollout." Even a note from Senator Elena Ruiz, a coastal advocate Emily had lobbied. "This ends now. Hearings start next week." The outpouring was a tide turning, washing away isolation, but it carried undercurrents of dread. As a former NSA analyst, Alex knew the playbook. Smear campaigns, anonymous leaks painting him as unstable, a tinfoil hat eco-terrorist. He'd left that world to build, not break, yet here it was knocking again. A soft knock pulled him back. Clara returned, her expression grave. Detective Marrow from Internal Affairs is here. Wants a statement. Alex nodded, but before leaving Emily's side, he leaned down, brushing a kiss to her forehead. Rest, my love. I'll handle this. Her eyes searched his, seeing the shadows he tried to hide. Promise me, no more hiding. Fight for all of us. He promised, the words an oath etched in his soul. In the stark interview room downstairs, Detective Marrow, a wiry woman with silver-streaked hair and a notebook that had seen too many injustices, gestured to a chair. Dr. Harper, walk me through it. From the beginning. As Alex recounted the raid, the false warrant for hazardous materials, the officer's aggression, Emily's cry, his voice steadied, facts weaving with the raw ache of loss. Marrow listened, jotting notes, her pen pausing at the veil's roll. Smart tech, she said finally. Saved your story from vanishing. But as he spoke, a shadow crossed her face. One thing, your file mentions classified work. NSA ties? That complicates things. Alex's pulse quickened. Complicates. The word hung like smoke, hinting at deeper entanglements. Outside, the sun crested the horizon, gilding the evergreens in gold. But in that room, alliances shifted. Petroglobal's reach was long, and Alex's Pastwassa vulnerability waiting to unravel. As Marrow promised a full probe, a new alert buzzed on his phone. An anonymous email. Subject line, stand down or Lily pays. The fight had only just begun, and the whispers of betrayal echoed louder than ever. The anonymous email lingered on Alex Harper's phone, like a venomous spider in the corner of a sunlit room. Innocuous at first glance, but deadly in its promise. Stand down, or Lily pays. No sender, no trace routed through layers of proxies that even his analyst's eye couldn't pierce in the dim hospital lounge. Alex deleted it twice, but the words etched themselves into his memory. A counterpoint to the monitor's steady beeps from Emily's room. Dawn had fully broken now, painting the evergreens outside in hues of amber and rose. But inside, the light felt artificial, strained through blinds meant to shield the vulnerable. He returned to her side, slipping into the chair with the grace of a man carrying an invisible load. Emily slept fitfully, her chest rising and falling in shallow rhythms, the IV line a lifeline tethering her to tomorrow. Alex traced the curve of her hand with his thumb. Memories unspooling like old film reels, their honeymoon hike through the Hoh rainforest, where moss-draped trees formed a cathedral of green, and she'd whispered dreams of a family amid the ferns. That girl, fierce and free, now lay marked by the world's indifference. We'll get through this, he murmured, more to himself than to her. Lily stirred again, a gentle nudge against his palm as if echoing the vow. In that quiet communion, Alex felt the stirrings of resolve, not the cold calculation of his NSA days, but a warmer fire, fueled by love's unyielding demand. A knock shattered the reverie. Detective Marrow entered, her notebook clutched like a shield, followed by a tall figure in a rumpled trench coat. Lena Vasquez, the reporter whose voice had crackled through the night. Her dark hair was pulled into a hasty ponytail, and her eyes, sharp as a hawk's, softened at the sight of Emily. Mr. Harper, I hope we're not intruding, Marrow said, her tone measured, a bridge between duty and decency. Ms. Vasquez here has some footage that might corroborate your account. Thought you'd want to see it firsthand. They gathered around the room's single tablet, the screen casting a blue glow on their faces. Lena cued the clip, a bystander video from across the street, shaky but damning. It captured the squad car's arrival, the officers' hushed conference before the Rams' swing, Harlan's barked orders laced with an edge that spoke of rehearsal. Notice the warrant flash, Lena pointed out, pausing on a blurred document. It's for environmental hazards, vague enough to cover anything. But cross-reference with public records? No such filing exists. Marrow nodded, scribbling furiously. Internal Affairs is pulling body cams now. If they match your stream... Her voice trailed, heavy with implication. Gratitude swelled in Alex's chest, but it warred with wariness. Lena leaned in, her voice low. Off the record? This reeks of Petroglobal. I've chased their shadows before. Quiet donations to police foundations. Consulting gigs for ex-cops. Your veil? It's not just tech. It's a threat to their bottom line. She slid him a USB drive. Backup files from the network. Use them wisely. As she rose to leave, promising a follow-up segment on the evening news, Alex caught her arm. Why help? Lena's smile was wry, scarred by battles won and lost. Because stories like yours? They change the narrative. Emily's not just a victim, she's the spark. Alone again, Alex plugged the drive into his laptop. The hospital Wi-Fi a fragile thread to the outside world. Files unfolded. Leaked emails from Petroglobal's mid-level suits, referencing Harper neutralization with clinical detachment. One attachment. A dossier on him, pieced from public records and whispers. His EPA whistleblowing on a fracking scandal. The NSA clearance that ended in quiet resignation after a mission gone sideways in the Gulf. Unstable tendencies, it claimed, twisting his advocacy into paranoia. The final page chilled him. A grainy photo of their bungalow time-stamped weeks ago with a circled window. Lily's future nursery. Rage simmered, but Alex channeled it into action. He fired off encrypted messages to his old network. A retired EPA mentor in DC. A hacker ally from the Amazon days, rallying digital sentinels. Eyes on Petro, he typed, fingers steady. The Veil's code, open source now via a midnight push to GitHub, forked rapidly online, hobbyists adapting it for homes from Brooklyn to Boise. Veil for All trended alongside Dr. Enrico Raid, a digital forest growing wild. Emily stirred as noon light filtered in, her eyes opening to find him at the window, silhouetted against the world. What now? She asked, voice hoarse but curious. He turned, forcing a smile. We build. The Veil's out there, protecting others like it should have protected us. She reached for him, pulling him close. And us, Lily? In her gaze, he saw the question's depth. Not just survival, but thriving amid the thorns. Before he could answer, his phone buzzed. A call from an unknown number. He answered warily. Harper? Victor Lang, Petroglobal. Let's talk terms. The voice was polished, paternal, dripping with false concern. Tragic what happened to your wife. But escalation helps no one. Drop the broadcasts and we make this go away. Medical bills, a foundation in her name. Alex's grip tightened, offering a velvet glove over an iron fist. Terms like the ones that put a bullet in her side? Laughter, light and disarming. Business, Dr. Harper. Your past NSA entanglements could complicate things for you too. The line went dead, leaving static and silence. Alex pocketed the phone, his mind a whirlwind of contingencies. Victor's call was a feint, buying time for the real strike. As Emily dozed again, lulled by pain meds, Alex stepped out to the balcony, the Cascade Mountains a distant sentinel. The air carried the salt of the sound, a reminder of tides turning, but in the threads of deception weaving tighter, one truth held: they would not break him. Not when Lily's heartbeat echoed like a drumbeat for justice, calling him to weave his own web, one of light, unyielding and vast. The Cascade Mountains stood sentinel, as Alex Harper drove the winding road from Willow Creek General, the midday sun fracturing through the pines like shards of fractured hope. Emily had been discharged against medical advice, her insistence fiercer than any fever, insisting on returning to their bungalow to reclaim the space stained by violence. Home is where we heal, she'd said, her hand on the small of her back as they navigated the porch steps, now reinforced with temporary plywood over the shattered door. The carbon veil, untouched amid the chaos, hummed softly on the mantel, its green light a quiet guardian. Neighbors had gathered, bearing casseroles and cards, their faces etched with the shared outrage of a community awakening. Mrs. Ellis from next door pressed a bouquet of rain-kissed dahlias into Emily's arms. For Lily's first blooms, she whispered, eyes misty. Inside, the air still carried a faint metallic tang, but Emily moved with purposeful grace, directing Alex to air out the rooms while she settled into their armchair with a sketch pad. Her wound bandaged beneath a loose blouse, she drew swirling vines and shielded homes. visions of the veil scaled to protect entire neighborhoods. "This isn't the end of our story," she told him, her voice a thread of steel wrapped in silk. Alex knelt before her, unpacking groceries with mechanical precision, but his mind churned on Victor Lang's call. The offer had been a lure, baited with false benevolence, yet it revealed the enemy's hand. They knew his levers, his past. As evening shadows lengthened, he confided in her, the words tumbling like stones into still water. "They think they can buy silence, but Lily, we're not for sale." Emily's green eyes held his, unflinching. "Then don't sell, expose." Her hand found his, the simple act a circuit completing. In that moment, amid the scent of fresh basil from their herb pots, Alex felt the tide shift, not away from danger, but toward purpose. He activated his laptop, pulling up the leaked dossier Lena had provided. Cross-referencing with public databases and his encrypted NSA contacts, patterns emerged. Petro Global's philanthropy arm had funneled over $5 million to local police foundations in the last year alone, including Willow Creek's department. Harlan Crow's name appeared in donor logs, a consulting retainer listed innocuously. "It's a web," Alex murmured, tracing connections on a digital map that sprawled across the screen. Pipelines pulsing red, donations in blue, raids marked with stark pins. Across the country, in the gleaming spires of Houston, Victor Lang convened his war council. The boardroom overlooked the bayou, where oil slicks mirrored the city's restless ambition. Royce, his security chief, projected a risk matrix on the wall, Alex's face at its apex, probability lines spiking toward catastrophic. "The stream's at 50 million views," Royce reported, his voice gravelly from years in the shadows. "Hearings tomorrow. Senator Ruiz is chairing, and she's got Harper's back. Stock's down 4 points. Shareholders are circling." Victor steepled his fingers, his tailored suit armor against vulnerability. He was a man who had risen from rig roughnecks to corner offices, brokering deals that bent borders. But this eco-upstart gnawed at his legacy. "Leverage his ghost," he decided, nodding to a junior analyst. "That Gulf Op NSA file says he walked away after a whistleblower tip. Leak it framed right. Harper as the leak, not the hero. The leak hit the wires that night. An anonymous drop to fringe blogs and talk radio. Eco-inventor tied to classified debacle. Was the raid self-inflicted? By morning, it metastasized cable news panels dissecting Alex's shady past with speculative glee. Alex woke to his phone's insistent buzz, Lena's text flashing. "Damage control needed. Meet at the town hall. Ruiz's team wants you testifying." Emily, already up brewing ginger tea to soothe her nausea, caught his eye over the steam. "Go. Tell our truth." He hesitated, the bungalow's walls suddenly too close, but her nod propelled him. "For Lily," he said, kissing her forehead. The scent of her shampoo, a wild lavender from the Olympic trails, grounding him. The Willow Creek Town Hall buzzed with a crowd that spilt onto the lawn. Banners waving "Justice for Emily" and "Veil the Veil, protect our air." Senator Elena Ruiz, a poised woman in her 50s with salt and pepper hair, and a voice honed in immigrant rights fights, called the impromptu hearing to order. Cameras from national outlets flanked the wooden podium, their lenses hungry. Alex took the stand, the room's murmurs fading as he began. "Last night my home was invaded on a fabricated warrant. My wife carrying our daughter was shot. This wasn't random. It was retaliation for the carbon veil, a tool to shield families from pollution." He projected the veil's blueprint, simple lines blooming into salvation, and the crowd leaned in. Breaths held as evidence mounted. Lena's bystander clip. The doctored warrant dissected by a forensic tech. Gasps rippled. Detective Marrow testified next, her notebook open like a confessional. Body cams confirm no probable cause. Donations from Petro Global raised flags in our audit. Harlan Crow, summoned but absent, loomed in effigy via his recorded dispatch. Secure the asset quietly. The room erupted chants of accountability, thundering. But midway through, Alex's phone vibrated under the table, an alert from his network. a deep-fake video circulating, splicing his face onto old NSA footage, narrating a fabricated confession. "I provoked the raid," the synthetic voice claimed, his likeness mouthing lies. Ruiz banged her gavel, calling for calm, but Alex's heart hammered. The deception was escalating, Petroglobal's tendrils tightening. Rising, he addressed the hall, voice resonant. "They'll twist truths, fabricate shadows. But here's the light. The veil is free now, in thousands of homes. You can't bury what's already growing." Applause crashed like waves, but as he stepped down, Ruiz pulled him aside. "This deepfake? It's a distraction. We've got a whistleblower inside Petro meeting tonight. You in?" Alex glanced at the crowd, faces alight with shared fire, then nodded. The tides of reckoning were rising, pulling him deeper, but with Emily's strength echoing in his veins, and Lily's future as his North Star, he would swim, not drown. Twilight draped Willow Creek in a velvet hush, the kind that amplified every rustle of leaves and distant call of an owl. Alex Harper steered his weathered truck toward the old mill on the outskirts, where the Puyallup River murmured secrets to the overhanging alders. The air through the open window carried the crisp bite of impending frost, mingling with the faint, loamy scent of the earth, reminders of why he fought. Emily's parting words echoed in his ears. "Come back to us whole." She'd watched him leave from the porch, one hand on her belly, the other waving a sketch of their expanded veil network, a map of hope sketched in colored pencils. Lily's kicks had been vigorous that afternoon, as if sensing the gravity, urging him onward. The mill loomed like a forgotten relic, its weathered timbers sagging under the weight of decades, a neutral ground for those who walked the razor's edge of truth. Senator Ruiz's aide had texted coordinates earlier. Encrypted and terse, 9 p.m., trust no one else. Alex parked in the shadows, scanning the lot, empty save for a nondescript sedan with tinted windows. His pulse quickened, a vestige of NSA ops where shadows hid both allies and assassins. He slipped a compact drive from his pocket, loaded with veil diagnostics, ready to trade data for revelations. Inside, the air was thick with dust motes dancing in the beam of a single lantern. Ruiz waited at a scarred oak table, her posture straight as a lodgepole pine, flanked by Lena Vasquez, who nursed a thermos of black coffee. A third figure emerged from the gloom, Jordan Hale, Petroglobal's mid-level engineer, his face gaunt under wire-rimmed glasses, hands trembling as he clutched a battered briefcase. "Dr. Harper," Ruiz greeted, her voice a steady anchor. "Jordan's risking everything. Listen first. Jordan's story spilt like a breached levee. Hired fresh from MIT to optimize emissions, he'd uncovered the raid's blueprint months ago. Coded emails flagged as asset recovery, Harlan Crow's name woven through like a recurring glitch. "It started with your patent leak," Jordan confessed, voice cracking. "Victor saw the veil as a domino, knock it down and renewables stall. They bribed the department for training exercises and fabricated the hazard report. I flagged it internally, got a pink slip disguised as a promotion." He slid the briefcase across, its contents a trove, server logs timestamped to the raid, audio clips of Victor's directives, minimal footprint, maximum yield, and blueprints mirroring Alex's own. Petro's twisted facsimile of the veil for selective corporate shielding. Alex's fingers traced the documents, the paper cool against his skin, but heat rose in his chest. A fusion of vindication and sorrow. "Emily's blood on our floor. For this?" Jordan flinched, averting his eyes. "I have a daughter too. 6 months old. Couldn't let it cycle again." Empathy bridged the gap, two fathers bound by fragile futures. Lena recorded discreetly, her lens capturing not just evidence but the raw humanity of fracture. Ruiz leaned forward, her silver rings glinting. "This ties it, conspiracy charges. But Victor's circling. Expect pushback tonight." As if summoned, Alex's phone vibrated, a restricted caller. He answered on speaker, the mill's echoes amplifying Victor's silken baritone. "Evening, gentlemen and ladies. Enjoying the mill's ambiance? Charming spot for a tete-a-tete." Static crackled, then a muffled gasp. Emily's voice? "Alex?" The line went live to their bungalow, hidden mics betraying the breach. "Drop the files, Harper, or your sanctuary becomes a pyre." Footsteps thudded faintly. A door creaking, Petro's enforcers, Royce's shadows closing in. Panic surged. But Alex's training clamped it down. "Emily, get to the safe room." He barked into the void, knowing she might hear. The bungalow's basement, veil-wired with reinforced doors, was their bolt hole, stocked for storms both literal and figurative. On the line, her reply was calm steel. "Already there. Lily and I are safe. Fight smart." Victor chuckled, a sound like grinding gears. Touching. But the whistleblower. "He's expendable." Jordan paled, but Ruiz's hand on his shoulder steadied him. "You're under federal protection now," she said firmly. "Trace that call, Lena?" Lena's fingers flew across her tablet, geolocating the signal to a Petro safe house in Tacoma. "Got it. Sending to IA, backup en route." Alex's mind raced, veins of strategy pulsing. Upload the briefcase remotely, amplify via the Veil network. He patched his phone to the prototype hub, files cascading into the ether. Live now, irrefutable. Petro Unveiled trended instantly, the mill's lantern flickering as notifications lit their faces like fireflies. Sirens wailed in the distance, a chorus rising. Victor's voice sharpened. "You think this ends me? Empires don't fall to gadgets." The line cut, but not before Alex's parting shot. "They fall to roots, deep and unyielding." Jordan exhaled, slumping. "What now?" Ruiz rose, resolute. "We press. Dawn brings warrants." Outside, Alex breathed the river's mist, the earth's quiet pulse syncing with his own. Emily texted, "All clear. Love you. Come home to your girls." Tears pricked, not of fear, but fierce joy. The veins of the earth ran with their blood now, resilient, reclaiming. But as tires crunched gravel, headlights sweeping, Alex knew the reckoning's flood was cresting. One more surge and the dam would break. The first light of dawn crept over the Puyallup River like a tentative promise, gilding the mill's sagging eaves in soft gold. Alex Harper stood at the threshold, the night's revelation still humming in his veins like the river's undercurrent. Sirens wailed closer now, a symphony of accountability slicing through the mist. Jordan Hale clutched his briefcase tighter, his earlier tremor replaced by a quiet resolve, while Senator Ruiz scanned the tree line, her hand resting on the concealed panic button at her belt. Lena Vasquez captured it all. Final notes for the story that would redefine the air they breathed. "They're here," she murmured, as blue lights danced through the fog, federal agents spilling from unmarked vans like guardians from the earth itself. The arrest was swift, surgical. Royce, Victor Lang's enforcer, emerged from the shadows of a nearby thicket, his silhouette bulky against the rising sun, but he was outnumbered and outmaneuvered. "Stand down," the lead agent barked, badge glinting as cuffs clicked into place. Royce's radio crackled futilely, Petro Global's last gasp, before he was bundled into a cruiser. Back at the bungalow, simultaneous raids unfolded. Tactical teams breaching Petro's Tacoma safe house, seizing servers etched with the raid's digital fingerprints. Victor Lang, roused from his penthouse slumber, watched from his tower as helicopters whirred overhead, his empire's facade crumbling like dry riverbed clay. "This is a mistake," he protested to the agents at his door. But the warrant, fueled by Jordan's logs and Alex's stream, spoke louder, hauling him into the light of consequence. By midday, Willow Creek buzzed with the hum of helicopters and news vans, and the town hall was transformed into a command center. Alex returned home first, the truck's engine ticking cool as he pulled into the drive. Emily waited on the porch, wrapped in a quilt stitched by neighborhood hands, her face alight with the glow of relief. "It's over?" she asked, rising to meet him, her steps careful but sure. He enveloped her in an embrace, breathing in the lavender of her hair, the faint salt of tears on her cheek. The tide turned. Victor's in custody, conspiracy, bribery, the works. Harlan and his TM2. The Veil's evidence sealed it. Lily fluttered between them, a bridge of life amid the wreckage. They retreated inside, the plywood door a temporary scar soon to heal. Alex recounted the mill's drama over chamomile tea, his voice weaving triumph with the ache of what had been lost. Emily listened, her hand tracing patterns on her belly, then pulled a tablet close. "Look," she said, tilting the screen. Global maps bloomed. red dots of pollution fading to green as Vale installations proliferated. Seattle co-ops, Brooklyn brownstones, even a village in the Amazon reclaiming its skies. Judy Vale for All had surged to billions of impressions, open-source downloads spiking like spring rain. "You did this," she whispered. "We did." In her eyes he saw not just his wife, but the architect of their shared vision, a woman whose spirit had turned bullets into beacons. News unfolded in waves. Senator Ruiz's press conference, decrying corporate overreach, vowing Vale subsidies in the next climate bill. Lena's segment aired nationwide. Emily's story, the emotional core. A mother's unyielding stand intercut with the raid's raw feed. Petro Global's stock plummeted. Assets frozen pending dissolution. Victor facing decades behind bars. Jordan, relocated under protection, messaged Alex, "Thank you for showing me roots run deeper than fear." Even Detective Marrow called, her voice gruff with apology. "Charges dropped against you. Full internal overhaul, starting with us listening." As dusk painted the evergreens in indigo, Alex and Emily wandered their garden, the air crisp and clean, the Vale's hum a soft underscore. Wildflowers nodded in the breeze, lilies defiant as promised, and Emily paused, hand flying to her side. "Alex, it's time." Contractions rippled, gentle at first, then insistent, Lily announcing her arrival with the grace of a new season. They drove to the hospital under a canopy of stars, the road winding like the Puyallups' forgiving curves. Hours blurred in the delivery room's warm glow. Emily's breath steady, Alex's hand her anchor, nurses a circle of quiet strength. At 3:17 a.m., under lights mimicking dawn, Lily entered the world. A cry clear as river song, tiny fists clenched like vows. Alex held her first, her downy head cradled in his palm, eyes, green as her mother's, blinking at the wonder. "Welcome, little warrior," he murmured, tears tracing paths of release. Emily reached out, their family complete, a triad woven from trial and tenderness. In the weeks that followed, Willow Creek healed alongside them. The bungalow's door gleamed anew, solar panels brighter. The Vale network a living web shielding coasts and cities. Petro Global's remnants funded reparations, cleanups, scholarships, Emily's foundation for maternal justice. Alex testified in D.C., his voice steady, turning pain into policy. But home was the true victory. Lazy mornings with Lily's gurgles, Emily's sketches evolving into blueprints, walks where the rain whispered approval. One evening, as autumn leaves carpeted the path, Alex knelt in the garden, planting lily bulbs with Lily on his back in a carrier. Emily joined them, her laughter a melody long missed. "We almost lost this," she said softly. He rose, drawing them close. But we held the line. For her, for the earth that holds us all. In that circle under the vast Pacific sky, justice wasn't an end but a beginning, roots deepening, veils lifting, a world breathing freer. And in Lily's gaze, the dawn eternal,